There are different sorts of jealousies. Jealousy can often be confused with envy, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the insecurity in the faithfulness of your mate, your spouse, your significant other. In this case, if you're a guy and you're insecure as to the faithfulness of your woman, yeah, that's the jealousy I'm going to be talking about in this video. There are some guys who are terminally insecure. And these guys who are terminally insecure, no matter what they achieve, they will always be jealous. They will always be thinking that their woman is out there cheating on them. And nothing will calm them down, okay? I'm not talking about those guys. Okay, those guys are basically, frankly, they've got a screw loose, okay? I've met some guys like that, okay? And they're awful human beings, quite simply, okay? Because they think that every time their woman looks, talks to a guy, talks to the 80-year-old doctor that has to examine the kids, right? That she's off flirting with the 80-year-old man and wants to fuck him. I mean, the guy's fucking crazy, okay? Those jealous guys, forget about them. And if you're one of them, seek help because, no. Yeah, so I'm not talking about those crazies, but I am talking about you, a normal guy who all of a sudden starts to feel kind of jealous. Okay? Now, all of a sudden you start to think to yourself that something is a little bit off. And you start having these feelings of insecurity about your woman. You have to pay attention to these feelings. When there is doubt, there is no doubt. Chances are that your subconscious is picking up little signals, little cues, little hints that something's going on. When there is doubt, there is no doubt. And that's the key issue. You never felt anything before. You've been with her for 6 months or a year, and then all of a sudden you start feeling this sense of jealousy. Oh yeah, then something is going on, okay? Our subconscious is very powerful. Our subconscious is always working while our conscious mind is busy with the trivia of our life, the job, the little DMV thing, the ticket that you have to pay, or this, that, the other, all the little crap that accumulates in your life. Your conscious mind is focused on that, but your unconscious mind is grinding away. A lot of times you're going to feel very weird in the morning, right? I know this from a buddy of mine who once told me that he woke up after a nap and he thought that his woman was cheating. It was just this idea that had popped into his head and he could not dislodge this idea. And lo and behold, he discovered that she was cheating on him. So never discount the subconscious. Never discount that feeling that you got in your gut, okay? That something's off, okay? So that's the first thing that you have to be thinking about. If you've never had a feeling of jealousy with your woman before and all of a sudden you do, something happened, something changed, something is probably happening. Now, what happens if you always have this feeling of jealousy? Then you're in trouble. You're in trouble because it has nothing to do with the woman, it has everything to do with you. It has to do with the fact that you might be feeling that the woman you're with is a little bit out of your league, and you might be suffering the imposter syndrome. If you don't know what that is, look it up. A lot of times, people who are dating somebody or are with somebody, married to somebody that is just a little bit better than them, they might start getting to feel jealous about it. They might feel very insecure about the relationship. And that is something that you as a guy have to control. Let's assume for the sake of argument that you're dating, out of your league, but the woman is faithful to you. You got to control that shit. You got to control that shit because if you let jealousy out of your grip, if you let it off the leash, it can inflict a hell of a lot of damage. I know that because it happened to me. Back when I was living in New York, I started dating models. And I was dating models because I had a buddy of mine whose sister was plugged into the whole fashion scene. And so I was dating these models and they were way out of my league, right? Even though I was pretty successful, I had a really nice place, I was making good money and all the rest of it. These models, man, I mean, the sheer beauty of them was just so overwhelming. And I remember there was this one girl I was dating, one of the first models I dated, maybe the second, I think. And she was just so gorgeous, and she was like this incredibly nice person. She was just a lovely person, and just so pretty. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that she was dating me. And whenever we went to a party, and she just looked and smiled at some random guy, and perfectly innocent, right? Smiling at the bartender because he gave her a drink. And I would go a little bit crazy. Yeah, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it because I didn't feel, I felt like an imposter. I felt like, you know, I didn't deserve this woman. And which is kind of crazy because I have an ego the size of an aircraft carrier, for crying out loud. But, you know, even an aircraft carrier can get wiped out once in a while, right? Yeah. And it happened to me. I got over it after I started dating like 3 or 4 different models, okay? And I hate to sound like an asshole about it, but it's the truth. You know, what happened was that the higher quality woman that I started to date, the more my insecurity started to diminish. Because ultimately jealousy is an issue of insecurity. An insecurity that, you know, the fear that you're gonna lose this woman. Okay, by definition, that's what it is. It's an insecurity. It is not unjustified, is what I'm trying to say in this video. But what I am trying to say is that you gotta rule that really tightly, even when it is justified, even when you have the sense that maybe the girl is stepping out on you and cheating on you. You gotta hold it in and control it because it is a very powerful emotion. Oh yeah. In Shakespeare's play Othello, Othello kills Desdemona over jealousy. Yeah, he's manipulated by Iago, yes, of course, but you know, it's not surprising. Anybody who reads Othello will recognize the humanity of the situation, the tragedy of the situation, because we have all felt jealousy. It is perfectly natural. It is perfectly natural, especially when, for whatever reason, when you're with a woman, you're a little bit down in the dumps, when you're not feeling your best, especially when sometimes maybe at work or your business, you're not doing so well, and you've got somebody really worthwhile, and you know that she's worthwhile. And then you're going to start to feel jealous. You're going to start to feel that little sting. It can eat you up. It can eat you alive. It can drive you to murder, like it does in the play. Or worse, it can drive you to craziness. Well, it's not worse than murder, certainly, but you get the point. You know, the craziness that jealousy can drive you to can just make you miserable. Don't allow that to happen. Yeah, don't allow that to happen. Easier said than done. Yeah, I'm aware of that, okay? When you're in the grips of jealousy, you have to stop and analyze that emotion. What do I tell you little motherfuckers all the time? Huh? We are men, which means that we do not allow our passions to control us. We do not allow our emotions to dictate our actions. Rather, we use reason, logic, acquired knowledge, and experience to dictate our actions in the short, medium, and long term. When you have a feeling of jealousy, analyze it. Don't act based on it. Analyze it first. Don't be Othello. Don't go off and kill your poor Desdemona, you know, just because, you know, the jealousy starts stinging at you. Huh? And of course, I'm saying metaphorically, not literally. But the point remains is that you should analyze your jealousy. Figure it out if it's something real. If there's some sort of doubt, that is no doubt. Or if it's just an insecurity on your part that is passing. An insecurity maybe because, you know, you're realizing that you've got something really special with the woman you've got. Maybe it's because, you know, things aren't going that well and the only high point in your life is your woman. This happens all the time. A guy whose life is not going very well, his business, his work, whatnot, and he's got a great girl by his side supporting him, he'll start to get a little bit crazy and a little bit overjealous because he thinks that she's stepping out on him, because he might start to realize that the woman he's with is, you know, the only good thing in his life. I despise Sting, the musician. I mean, his politics, they're full of shit. But he's a good lyricist, and he wrote some really good lyrics. He said, if you love someone, set them free. Yeah. If you find yourself in the grips of jealousy that is unfounded, okay, then what you have to do is you have to let go. You have to let go and not try to hold on to the woman. Because if she's really yours, she's not going to go anywhere. And if you allow your jealousy to start tightening its grip on her, holding her back, holding her as tightly as possible, she's going to rebel. It's just natural. You know, you ever seen a falcon on a falconer's wrist? The falconer just holds the wrist up and the falcon just stays there, happy as can be. Yeah. But when the falconer starts trying to grab the falcon, starts to hold her down, well, the falcon resists. And she digs her claws into the falconer's wrist. And it's a big old mess. That's what happens. That's what happens when you try to grab the woman you love. Grab, not in a physical sense, but in a more metaphoric sense. If you're with a woman and you start feeling yourself sliding in your life, and you start to feel jealous because you start to realize that she's the only good thing in your life at that time, be very careful, because you can do a lot of damage to the relationship, potentially end it, and potentially hurt yourself pointlessly, needlessly. You got to be smart. Yeah, jealousy more often than not is a product of love, a product of desire. You're with somebody and you love them and you want them with you all the time. If you're indifferent to a woman, you're never going to feel jealous. No, you're never going to be thinking to yourself, oh, I wonder if she's stepping out. No, you don't give a shit. If you're indifferent to her and she does step out on you, you're like, well, good riddance to bad rubbish, and just move on and find somebody else. You only feel jealousy for somebody that you really care for. And love can be a very, very dangerous thing, a very destructive emotion. Yes, it is, of course, powerful in a good sense. Yeah, we all know that. But love is what fuels jealousy. The more you want someone, the greater the jealousy you can feel. And the more you depend on them, the greater the jealousy you will feel. And there's nothing wrong with depending and loving a woman. I've always said there's no problem with that at all. But what is a problem is falling into the sickness of jealousy. Don't allow that to happen. It's easy. And a lot of times, the culture sort of like almost foments it, because it is giving a woman so many distractions and offering so many opportunities. And there's almost the tacit sense that it's okay for a woman to cheat. I mean, for crying out loud, I read in like The Guardian or something like that, women should get a pass to cheat this Christmas. I'm not kidding. It was on The Guardian or The Telegraph or something. I couldn't believe it when I read it. But that's the case. Modern media is actually saying, oh, you're a strong, independent woman. Go out there and cheat on your husband or your boyfriend. It doesn't matter. It's okay. It's Christmas. Which is fucking insane, but it proves my point. The culture is sort of like almost encouraging women to step out on a man. And you got to keep in mind, most women, the vast majority of women, once they're with a guy, they're not interested in other men. And that's the truth. Most women, I'm not talking about everyone. There are lots of cheating women, lots of women who are just, whores, quite frankly. But most women, once they have a guy in their life, they're happy with him. A guy fucks her good, treats her right, takes her out, once every week or so, or every couple of weeks even, she's going to be happy. Yeah. Women, just like men, need very little to be happy. And because of that, it's more likely than not that the woman you're with is not going to be cheating on you, unless, like I said, she's a whore, right? But if she's a normal girl, you'll be perfectly fine. So you have to control this shit. Control it. Don't allow it to dictate your emotions. But of course, if the woman you're with is cheating on you, dump her instantly.